In this video, I'm going to show you the Uber driver requirements and Lyft driver requirements for Phoenix, Arizona. First off, starting with Uber, as you can see, you must be at least 21 years of age or older and hold a valid driver's license. And then you need these document requirements. Of course, you need a driver's license, proof of work eligibility, a social security number. They will do a background check on you, keep that in mind. And then you need registration and insurance of your vehicle, or you can rent one, and I'll talk about vehicles in a second. So you need all of this in order to apply for Uber, and I do suggest, remember, they will do a background check. This does involve typically both a criminal background check and a driver's background check. So let's say if you have anything on your driving record, that might pop up. Now looking at the vehicles for Uber, here's the biggest thing. 16-year-old vehicle or newer, 4 doors, good condition with no cosmetic damage, no commercial branding, and pass a vehicle inspection. They will inspect your vehicle. You have to go somewhere. You can either go to like an Uber site or a third-party site. They will inspect your vehicle, make sure it's good for driving for Uber. And one thing I do want to say is that if, let's say, you don't have a car, or let's say you do have a car, but it doesn't qualify, you can always rent one through Uber. It's anywhere, I'd say, between $250 and $300 a week to rent a car through Uber. And you have this right here. I'll talk about this in a second at the end of this video. But if you have a vehicle model that's 20 years old or newer, you may qualify for Uber Eats. So I do want to say, Uber and Uber Eats have different requirements, and the requirements for Uber Eats are a lot lower than regular Uber. Now going to Lyft, as you can see, you need a valid driver's license. Temporary or out-of-state licenses are also acceptable. 25 or older in terms of the age. So you need to be older, unfortunately, to drive for Lyft as opposed to Uber. Next, pass a driver screening. Like I mentioned with Uber, they're gonna review your driving history and a criminal background check, and then need a smartphone. Now, in terms of the documents, you need a driver profile photo. Pretty standard, both Uber and Lyft require a photo. You can just take a selfie with your phone. You do need a vehicle registration and vehicle insurance. I do suggest having rideshare insurance as well. That's definitely huge. And then lastly, you need to get an Arizona vehicle inspection. If your vehicle is older than 10 years, you need to get it inspected and certified that it meets the Arizona vehicle safety and emission standards. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. I mentioned this before as well with Uber. You need to get your car inspected. One thing I will say, it depends on the city, but here in LA, for example, I used my Uber inspection, sent it to Lyft, and Lyft accepted it, and vice versa. So sometimes you can send your inspection for one like rideshare company, like say Uber, you can send that to Lyft saying, hey, my car already got certified through a company when I was going through Uber, no big deal. And you can probably go back and forth. So keep that in mind. Going up now to the vehicle requirements, it's 2007 or newer when it comes to Phoenix. However, if let's say you want to drive somewhere else in Arizona, it's 2009 or newer. And this is what's really interesting about Lyft and ride sharing in general is, as you can see, your car might qualify in Flagstaff, Phoenix, and Tucson, but not all other cities. Kind of interesting. 4 doors, 5 to 8 seats, not a taxi, stretch limousine, or non-express drive rental vehicle, and not titled as salvage, not repairable, rebuilt, or any other equivalent classification. Also, like I mentioned with Uber, if, let's say, you don't have a vehicle or your vehicle doesn't qualify for whatever reason, you can still rent one through Lyft. One last thing I do want to mention is Uber Eats. I want to talk about delivery driving. I am going to have a video up here where I compare rideshare driving to delivery driving. I wanted to bring it up because I've had a lot of people say, hey, Mark, I'm in college. I was going to sign up through Uber or Lyft, but I'm only 19 or 20. Uber typically is 21 and up. Lyft typically 25 and up. However, with Uber Eats, it's typically 19 and up. It actually depends upon your vehicle or your method of transportation. If you're on foot or riding a bicycle, you can be 18 years or older. So you could be right out of high school. If let's say you have a car or a scooter or a motorized scooter, then you have to be 19 years or older. And I want to mention that because let's say you're in Phoenix and you're like, shoot, I want to drive for Uber and Lyft, but I'm just not old enough or I don't fit the requirements or whatever. Hey, you might be able to drive for Uber Eats or even like say DoorDash or another delivery driving service as the requirements are a lot smaller.